All right. Hello and welcome to Curtis Lake Prime Time. I'm your host, Josh Parison, for those of you that don't know. And tonight I got with me Karen Oder making her return. She did a good job first time that she was here, and so we brought her back.
You let me come back.
We let you come back. Yeah. And also joining us tonight from our finance and oversight team, my good friend Brian Samia. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Yeah, you'll have to talk, not just make hand gestures.
You can't just wave.
That's right.
It's on video.
Yeah. So we've been talking about the real estate market here before we got ready to go. Brian's the best real estate agent that we have in Sanford, right? At least that's what you told me a few minutes ago. But
No, I don't think I am. No. Now I'm on camera. I have to be humble.
oh, I see. Okay. Well, you've helped me a couple times, and that went well. So I've heard, outside of that, you're pretty good too. But so thanks for coming tonight. I must confess, I am so exhausted. I am just very tired. And so if this is not going to be a low energy broadcast, you guys are going to have to bring it tonight. That's right. So yeah, I hope you're prepared for that.
Did you play a hot game of golf today?
Did I what?
Did you play golf today? Is that why
No.
you're exhausted?
No.
No.
It's just, I don't know. The days are wearing on, But, and I guess we're in the middle of a heat wave now.
We
Or at the
are.
start of a heat wave.
Tomorrow's going to be really hot and humid.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I thought it was happening today, but I was listening to a radio station out of Boston, and they were talking about so they must have been talking about tomorrow then, but they said the temperature is going to be 95 degrees there in Boston with a real feel of 110.
Awesome.
So I don't know what that translates to in Sanford, but I imagine it'll be pretty warm.
I think I saw 105 or 106. So
For real feel here?
yes.
Okay.
Heat index.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too bad we're not doing prime time tomorrow night because we have the weakest air conditioner kind of.
Sounds good over there.
I think
It's chugging along.
It's chugging along. We run it all day long just to get the temperature down to a cool 87 degrees. So it's nice and comfy when we start prime time. But oh well.
That's good.
So and I don't know if the cameras are picking up. Oh, they are. But you see, Karen's got her notes here. So she's full of notes. Brian, the rookie.
I put my phone here so I look.
So you look like you
Look
might
like I
have
have
something
some
to
notes,
refer
yeah.
to. So, we're going to do like we do pretty much every week. We'll spend a little time, maybe talking about Sunday morning. The topic this past week was on anger and maintaining self-control. We'll also spend a little time talking about the Road Trip to Truth video, and the theme on that was the gospel. So we'll kind of talk about that for a little bit. And but other than that, how's your week going?
Good.
Yeah.
It's hot outside, Josh.
Yeah. Like I said, we're going to keep this from being a low energy broadcast here tonight. Thank you, Karen, for reminding us of how warm it is. Yeah. Brian, how about your week? Has it been a little crazy?
I've been dealing with a lot of mold and failed septic systems, so it's been fun times. But it happens.
Yeah. So I didn't smell anything when you came in the room. So.
That was the failed septic system was yesterday, so
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So there was a shower in between.
exactly.
Now.
Yeah.
That's
You're
good.
welcome.
Thank you very much. So.
You didn't find it by walking through it.
Through
did
it?
you?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
In any of those ventures, did you lose control?
probably.
Did you lose it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I
Is there
did.
is there some collateral damage out there somewhere?
The higher my stress level gets, usually the more likely I am to lose it.
I feel like there's a story there.
Yeah. Well, I did when I texted Brian. I was like, "Hey, you want to be on PrimeTime next week? We're going to be talking about anger on Sunday morning." And I don't know if he took that the right way.
I think I texted back, like, am I the one that is supposed to be talking about being calm or the one that gets angry?
Right. We're basically going to leave it up to him. So, you're one of Karen. You're one of the people. Like I was thinking about Sunday morning. There's a few people that I know where, at that day, my thought was Michelle Silk.
Oh.
Like many of you know Michelle. Michelle's our ELC director, and she's about the sweetest person in the world. And we kind of joke with her from time to time that it's really impossible to imagine Michelle getting angry, like losing it.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, I do." Like, I'm just
can't
not
see
buying.
it.
I'm just not buying it. Like, what does that look like? you know, there's people like that. I have a hard time seeing you lose it.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it does. It doesn't happen very often, but
But when it does,
it really surprises everyone. I have the advantage. It's like everyone's shocked. Like, oh no.
yeah. Are there any warning signs that it's about to happen? Like, you know, smoke coming from the volcano?
That's the weird thing. No, there isn't. I mean, I feel it inside, but I think I must just kind of keep a straight face because it is pretty surprising. I think when I just hit that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to get there. Definitely don't like it, but it has happened. I will have to say.
Mm.
You know, we have an RV, right? And you know, there's parking involved, right? So, need I say more? No.
Is that like when you and Joe do you like work together to get it parked?
That's the goal.
And
Somebody's driving, somebody's directing.
that's the biggest test of your marriage right there.
Yeah. Michelle gave me a pillow that says, "Please forgive what I said when we were parking the RV."
Me.
So, there we are. Right there.
Yeah.
No, we're figuring to work it out. So the last few times we went, I think we have a system down. So there aren't angry words to start off our camping trip.
All right.
But yeah, that's
So are you the driver or the spotter? Like which works better?
for distance. I'm the driver. For backing up, it's Joe. Yes, I have to get out because it's just backwards. So
Okay.
doesn't come out right. So a lot of times I will get out and he will get in, and yeah. So that's the key. We figured it out. We worked it out. So yeah,
You get the fancy back cameras or anything?
there is a backup camera, but yeah, it's an older RV. So like when you're looking at it has like too much backlighting, so you can't really see. So it doesn't help.
Yeah.
Doesn't help. The
Yeah.
mirror works the best. But,
All right.
yeah.
I don't know. Is Esther watching it all tonight? Do you know? Maybe she could chime in on this. But what are the warning signs that Dad's about to lose it?
That Dad's about to lose it. I think Dad just loses it.
No warning whatsoever, right? It's just
No, I think she kind of knows usually. Like when I come home from work and I'm very quiet, like that. It's just been like a rough
of those
day.
days, yeah.
And everybody just stays away from Dad. But I tend to lose it the most. I think when like my expectations aren't in line with like the reality of the world.
right.
Whether that be of things or people or, you know, what that, and then combine that with stress. And it's just like, you know, I forget that I'm a Jesus follower. So,
Yeah.
That's the hard part. I always find it interesting that where it lists the fruit of the Spirit, that self-control is like tacked on the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's all these wonderful things: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. You know, and we all can go, yeah, and then self-control is just like thrown in on the end of that, and that just kind of bursts the whole bubble of like, oh, that
Yeah.
too, yeah.
Yeah. You feel like you're growing in that though. I mean, I feel like there's probably been there's certainly been like a development in my life, you know, in that. I've told the story a number of times, but I remember when I was a kid playing baseball. I was playing shortstop for this particular game, and usually there was another kid and I that were kind of traded off, either pitching or playing shortstop. We played against this team that was really good. I mean, they just their lineup was full of offense, right? And they're just jacking balls out into left field like crazy. And the kid in left field was he missed it. He just kept missing them. And so I was getting more and more angry. And then as he kept missing them, he got more lackadaisical about it. Like he had just given up. And I remember a ball going over his head, and he just turned around and sort of like half walked to the ball while the kids were like rounding the bases, and I lost it. The glove came off, threw it on the ground. I'm kicking dirt, screaming, yelling. It's like
That happened last year?
yeah, I was only 12, you know. And so I I've done a little better since then, but I do still find myself. I mean, it's funny. One of the places where I get the angriest is on the golf course. If I'm playing poorly, there's really nothing I hate more than playing bad golf. I hate it. You know, so many people are like, "Oh, you're playing golf. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable." And like, I'm out there for competitive reasons. You know, even if I'm not competing against somebody else, I'm competing against me, and I'll be seething inside, just angry, so angry, because it's not going the way I want it to go or whatever. And I fortunately usually don't embarrass myself.
You don't throw your clubs into the.
I'm not a club
water.
thrower. I'm not a club thrower. I've played with some of those guys. That's awkward.
Yeah.
That's really uncomfortable when somebody's throwing
What do they do?
golf clubs.
I mean, their putter goes in the water, or their driver. What do
They
they
usually
use
don't throw
other
it in the
than
water. But I mean, I played with this guy. I started playing with him some because he was a mutual friend, or I guess he was a friend with another. Yeah, whatever. But we kind of got connected with this guy. He was the manager of Longhorn down in Portsmouth, and yeah, he was a club thrower, and he was awful. Like, that was the funny thing. He was an absolutely horrific golfer.
So his expectations did.
His expectations did not match reality. Yeah, it's like, no, you hit that because that's how good you are, right? You know, that's the reason why that goes like that. So, but I'm gonna be playing golf with Brian here in a month or two, and
I do not throw clubs.
yeah, his expectations will be super low though.
They match reality.
Exactly. Like, this is what it
You
is.
have to play
I don't think I played golf since Caleb was born, and he just turned 7.
Yeah.
So
So we'll just be out there for fun.
it'll be lots of fun.
Be out there for fun.
You're out there to make Josh feel better about his game.
I don't even think that will make Josh feel better about his game. I'll probably bring him down a notch, and I'll have to take like 2 or 3 weeks to get back on track.
Yeah. No, I will definitely. I'll go into that with a different attitude. Although your dad, he I don't know. He's making it sound like, you know, I better bring it or something. So maybe he's feeling a little bit of the competitive juices. In this
You
thing.
never know.
So
This prize is at stake.
yeah. So when like what makes you lose control? Like what are those things that you'd say? Well, these are easy hot buttons for me. Besides the camper.
So, I don't know if I have hot buttons. I am more of like, I don't like how it feels to get mad. I don't like that feeling. So I try to avoid getting mad. Like, so I try to fix stuff. You know, let me fix the situation. Let me fix this. Let me fix that. Let me fix you. So, you know, so that I don't get angry. But so what happens for me is that it just is kind of brewing underneath it all, and then it's kind of, like I said, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I'm up here. I go from like 0 to 10 really quick, and it's not fair to the people around me, but yeah, that's kind of, so I try not to do that. I really try to keep calm and remember that whatever's happening usually isn't personal. It's because, you know, something else happened. There's some other extenuating circumstances going on.
Right.
You know, and try to keep that in mind. Like, oh, they must be tired. You know, long day. Try not to react. Try to let things go. You know, to bring up later at a cooler moment maybe. But, you know, as hard as I try, sometimes I'm not successful to do that, unfortunately. But there might have been a camper door slam on a trip we took that wasn't.
Isn't slamming just amazingly therapeutic though?
It is.
Like, why is that? I mean,
Tell
just
you
that,
the other people looking at you.
Yeah, but
because
the
you slammed
physical
door.
action. I mean, we've all seen it on a sitcom, right? When, you know, the people fight. You know, there's always a slamming of the door, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Another thing that just drives me crazy is when my computer doesn't work. And sometimes most of the time, if I buy a mouse for my computer, I buy a wired mouse, because wireless mice oftentimes, they're just a little glitchy here and there, and it just drives me crazy, especially if I'm trying to do intricate work. And so I must admit I've broken some mice, right? Because it's like I'm doing
they
it.
go
It's like glitchy, you know, because I'm just done with this stupid thing. And then, yeah. Or, double fist the keyboard. That's another one that I don't know, the sound,
That makes you feel better to yourself.
it does, yeah.
Slam.
I'm not a wall puncher,
Yeah.
so I don't want to hurt myself. But
Or fix the wall later.
yeah, be happy to
Yeah.
throw things.
Yeah.
Done that before.
Yeah. Have you broken anything expensive?
Oh, I've never broken. I don't know. I broke a watch once.
Like,
But- I've broken feelings.
Mostly there are just shattered feelings. A wake of shattered feelings in my pathway.
that's the most dangerous thing right there.
Oh, exactly is. Yeah.
Oh.
See, like, Karen doesn't like the way she feels before she gets angry. Like, I hate the way I feel after I get angry. So I need more Karen in me.
So you get there fast? I would say the same thing for me.
No, I feel it. I can be very calm, and then yeah, I do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the answer to that is yes.
Yeah. But,
But it's
does
not
it go
very
away fast too,
often.
though?
Yes.
Yeah, because it does for me.
It usually does. Is that there's an emotional just drop, and then
Right.
I feel very sorry, because yeah, I don't ever like to say. I think. Oh, I don't, how personal can we be here? So, like,
You can be
would-
perfect. Pretend there's not even a microphone. I mean,
But-
pretend we're not recording this for posterity in the future. Yeah.
I'm not a quick thinker in conversation, so I need to think about stuff before I say it. And plus, I also want to weigh my words before I say them. Other people are not like that, and they want like to talk about it right now, and I need to think about it. So sometimes that can just all of a sudden escalate into something bigger, like I stop pushing. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I don't know what I want to say about this. Just I need some space or time. So that's what I need to say. I don't always say that, and then all of a sudden I'm there. I can get there. But did I answer your question?
Not really. That didn't sound all that personal either. Like I was really bracing myself for something.
I was
that-
thinking ahead.
I was thinking there was some.
Yeah,
I thought there were
don't
tears
say
coming, and
No.
Brian was gonna be patting you on the shoulder, saying it's okay. Karen, it's okay.
No, I don't. It's not very. To be honest, Josh, I can think of maybe 5 times in the whole time that we've been married that I have just really like blown my top, and it always, and that's not always at the kids or always at my husband. It's between all of them. But what I do, which I think is, they're all boys, so that's got to be.
Yeah.
That's got to be it.
It
But
doesn't-
what I
it doesn't
feel
help
like-
if some of them are girls. Believe me.
What I feel like is equally important is what is not said, though, because that is still stuff that I have to deal with. Just because it didn't come out doesn't mean that it's not just as ugly in what I'm thinking or what I want to say, So that also has to be addressed for me. Yeah. So if you only know what I didn't say, that's the
Yeah.
thing right there to deal with.
I find it. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but self-control isn't just only limited to what comes out of your mouth.
Right.
Either that's a wide open field.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, I find it interesting. Again, not that I'm like a perfectly controlled individual, because I'm not. But they're definitely. You come across people that just seem like they're so out of control as adults, even, right? And I know you guys enough that you're not in that category. It'd probably be awkward for me to bring somebody on that that I thought maybe was. Like, I was like,
We're good. man.
yeah, you're,
Got it together.
for the most part. I mean, I get it. Like everybody's got a temper, right? And everybody has these things that ultimately get us to this place where it's just, we're gonna say things that we regret, or we're gonna act in ways that are regrettable or make us feel bad after the fact. But there's some people that just seem to have like that's just in their nature. I mean, it's a habit
It's how they
almost.
process.
And I wonder, like, how does this person not see that? Like, how do they not see that in themselves? How is there not enough, introspection? Because I'm hearing that here, that like we get it, yeah, that happens sometimes, and maybe we even miss some of it on our own, but generally I think we're certainly aspiring for a high level of self-control.
Oh yeah.
Because we don't want to act out.
I rarely get. I don't think I ever get angry now without wishing I hadn't gotten angry like after the fact. Like I think every time, like because it's always. It's not what I strive to be. You know what I mean? And I want to find solutions to the problems that I face, or the stress that I face every day, without it being an attack on somebody else, right? And one, for the relationships, but two, just because I call myself a Christian, and it's not a good witness to Christ to be out there like tearing the world apart, So, I think one of the best things we can do as as Christians is treat people the way Christ would treat us and like want us to treat other people. So,
right. I think it's also important for us, because in this, when we talk about, we have the tendency, I think, we're looking at the big stuff, right? We're looking at the blow ups, the things where it's just immediately and apparently obvious. Wow, this was like, I lost it. But the part of what I think we were trying to bring out Sunday morning was this concept of ruling ourselves, of having a measure of control over our spirit, right? Like that's really what the proverb was talking about, comparing the nobility and I think the godliness of an individual who has learned how to control themselves as being of even more value than somebody who's able to use their might and their power to gain control of a city, or to rule a city, to rule over hundreds of thousands of people, right? It's almost like that's an easier job to do than it is for us to rule ourselves. And why is that? Like, why is it so hard for us to rule ourselves? And again, not just in those, oh, well, I've done a pretty good job getting to this place where I'm not blowing up all the time. I'm not always flying off the handle. Like I, in fact, very rarely do that. But the reality is, I mean, a lot of times I'm just not in control of my words. That I might say something that's not. I'm not screaming bloody murder. I'm not losing it, in this long protracted thing. But just it's that one line, right? It's that one cutting remark that's kind of said to, I don't know, win over somebody else. Like, why can't I defeat that? why can't I find this full and ultimate victory over that thing that is in me?
Yeah, I think it's more likely when you're tired, when you've had a long day, when you're hungry, when you haven't had enough sleep, when things are, physical things that have happened, that your body isn't rested, you're not in the right frame of mind because of those external issues. But I think that it all comes to play, or we talk about having boundaries. I mean, to know what our triggers are. If we know that we've had a very long day, that's going to be a trigger for us. What do we need to do first before we walk in the front door, before we encounter people, or talk to someone who's going to really need our time, in that moment? What do we need to do? What to calm ourselves down? And that's probably different for everybody. My husband used to say that he was commuting from the shipyard, so that 45-minute drive home, that was a real kind of
Buffer.
decompressing time for him, to just unwind a little bit. And, so just putting those things in place, I think, is really helpful for those. I mean,
yeah, I love that. I didn't even think about the food. Yeah, food's a big one.
yeah.
Hangriness is a real
Hangry,
thing.
Yes, it's true.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
So,
in my world, it's time, like just leaving enough time for the unexpected, because I tend to, when things get piled on top of things, oftentimes they need to be dealt with in a fairly like quick and efficient manner. But it's like my striving to get that done that oftentimes leads me to like leave carnage around me, whether it be with like poor like Lauren and Christy who work with me, or if it's at home and it ends up being Esther or one of the kids. It tends to be the people that I'm closest with. It might be an agent on the other side of a transaction, but like I have a goal and I'm striving for something, and it when things don't line up just the perfect way I envision them in my like head, it'll send me into like a tailspin sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
I think that's a really good point, is knowing your limits.
Yeah.
What can you get done, and what is a reasonable
Yep.
thing? I mean, we all make our lists, right? So when I make my lists now, I go, there's 10 things on there, and I'm thinking, okay, I can probably realistically get 3 of those things done today, because there's going to be stuff that happens, that a wrench gets thrown into something, or you gotta, whatever happens, and you have to attend to that, so being gentle with yourself and realizing that, I have limits, and if I go beyond those limits, then everything is like on fire, and there's carnage, like you said,
Yeah. We often talk about that concept of margin,
Yeah.
right? Of having that in there, because even if we're budgeting within our limits, we talked about this with money several weeks ago, right? Like, the goal isn't to live within your means, it's to live below your means, and that comes with same exact thing with time.
Yep.
Yeah, I only have so much time available to me, and I have to not try to pack everything into the time that's allotted, but I actually have to leave some gap there,
right,
because something unexpected is going to happen every day.
right,
Every day, there's going to be something's going to just take a little longer than you thought it was going to, or there's going to be a monkey wrench thrown in somewhere, some curveball, and now all of a sudden, like, the only way this was all going to get done is if it was perfect.
Perfect.
That's how
huge expectation.
it is a huge expectation, and yet I do it day after day oftentimes.
Yep.
And so I find myself I have 4 of these things that I have to do by a certain time, and it barely am I even going to be able to do that. And invariably, the phone rings. Somebody comes, knocks on your door, or whatever.
Yep.
And now I am probably doing those same 4 things less awesomely, right? But certainly with a little more urgency. And now that's when somebody else walks in, and it's like, that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And there's
Right.
you feel that conflict with that person. So
And it's really hard to say no, too. It's really hard to say, no, I can't do that. Because I think our culture really thrives on the busyness, really. The busier you are, the more productive you are,
Yeah.
the more people admire you or think highly of you. If you want something done, ask a busy person, all of those little things that are out there that stroke our ego. But sometimes we just have to realize that we can't do everything. We just can't get it all done, and be gentle with ourselves, because it reflects on our families. They're the ones that get the brunt end of all of that.
yeah, it's hardly ever the innocent, unrelated
Right,
person that's kind of far removed. It's almost always somebody that's near to you.
right, right. The one that you love the most, usually,
Yeah.
or that loves you the most, right?
So, do you want to share what the hot buttons are for Esther and Joe?
No, we'll leave those unsaid.
We're gonna leave those.
Yeah,
alone.
they can come on here and talk about that
You want us to
themselves.
come back someday?
You want? You pass me a note, and I'll anonymously type them into the chat here.
How about
Karen's been married for a while. I've been married. I'm going on 13 years, so I'd like to get
long enough to know that?
to
know what our-
25 or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a pretty smart guy.
Only if you go first, Josh. Tell us what Renee's hot buttons are.
Oh, what are Renee's hot buttons? No, she gets enough on Sunday morning, I guess. So. Somebody,
Timeshare presentation.
that's right. Somebody went up to her Sunday. He's like, man, he really gives it to you on Sunday morning. And she's like, yeah. So it's funny. We had this. So we just got a kitten.
I saw the cutest video yesterday of this kitten and
Kitten with the
Shammy.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, that was adorable.
So that's much cuter than the kitten with the cat. Like that's a completely different relationship right now. So, but the kitten, when did the kitten show up? I think we got her Saturday. So today's Wednesday. The kitten is still unnamed. And so today there is, I could go, if I had my phone, I could show you pages and pages and pages of this group, our family group chat, people trying to
Give you names.
finally come up with a name, which I don't
It's
really
not
care.
Kitty.
Right now it's the cat to be named later. Yeah. Red Sox are going to trade her for a left fielder.
Larry.
So is there a hot button in there?
What's,
Only for the cat.
so the hot button, was there a hot button? No. I mean, other than me getting ready to leave the family group chat.
Yeah. You can add those to my hub.
My phone, my phone's just
That's Josh's hot button right there.
I'm right there
over and
too.
over again. Yeah. Anyway, so anything else on that topic from Sunday morning? You got some notes there you want to share?
No.
No? All right.
These are notes from you, Josh. Well, actually, I do. There is one little thing. Those things come up on Facebook where people ask you to put in your 2 cents worth of something. One of them was, what are 4 words? What wisdom can you give in 4 words? And I thought, this is exactly what Josh was talking about, and my 4 words were talk less and listen more. So when you start feeling that angst building up, just shut it, just listen, especially if another person is speaking at you angrily, it's not personal usually.
Yeah.
It's usually something else is going on in their life, and if you can just listen for a few minutes and not try to correct or fix or solve their problem, they usually can calm themselves down and find out what the root of it is, what the root of the issue is. And then you can have an intelligent conversation. It's not verbal biting
Right.
back and forth. So,
Something like a soft answer turns away wrath.
exactly. That,
Right.
exactly.
That's pretty good wisdom,
A very good wisdom.
because usually wrath meeting wrath leads to more wrath.
Right. Yeah. You just
Higher levels of
bang,
wrath.
bang, bang. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Back and forth.
But it's really hard to argue with somebody and to
Let's not
hold that
argue.
high level if they're not arguing back.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's usually not personal. It's something else, I mean, sometimes I guess it could be a verbal attack on your person, but for the most part, I don't think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the last time you verbally attacked me, it was very personal. But
Okay. What did I do?
Karen's gonna
You got her squirming over there.
for the rest of this podcast, she's gonna be like, when was that? I don't remember it.
I
but
remember way back when Beth Moore conference was here. I don't know. I don't think there were harsh words though, were there?
with me,
Yeah.
I don't like between me and Beth. Not that I know of.
She was on video.
Oh,
so-
so it was really hard to argue with her. She
No,
just wasn't having
I
it.
don't know. I can't think of anything, Josh.
No, I feel like we always got along pretty well.
Yeah. I think
So. Yeah.
All right. I think we had an argument about name tags. Not an argument, but a disagreement
Really?
about wearing
Oh, we should talk about that.
lanyards. I didn't want to wear lanyards.
Okay, so you didn't want to wear lanyards, and I wanted to wear
And you
lanyards.
wanted the lanyards. Yeah.
Who won that argument?
You did.
Did I really?
You won, Josh.
Wow.
And then everybody wore lanyards up until last year.
Yeah.
I think.
Did I make a good case for the lanyards?
Apparently so.
Oh.
Yeah. Or maybe I just didn't want you to be angry.
See, these were the said things she was talking
That's
about.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Let's
just
talk about it now.
I didn't realize we had this outstanding issue, but
No.
I'm sorry.
It was
sorry.
solved.
I'm sorry about
We
the
worked it
lanyards.
out. No, you won me over. I could see the necessity in it. So we didn't have to get in a verbal altercation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's as serious as it gets, Josh. I
that's
guess.
it.
Yeah. lanyards.
Cool.
But isn't that true though? What arguments and yelling is about is dumb stuff.
Oh, it's almost always dumb.
Dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes my inability to effectively communicate what I want to communicate to people, and then I expect them to like read my mind, that type of stuff. So,
Right.
Yep.
So when people can't read what you're thinking about,
Yeah.
you give few words.
Yeah.
I've had that conversation with my husband before. I don't know. You have to tell me.
Tell me
more.
more. Yeah.
Are your kids old enough to fight over dumb things yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as this morning I was leaving the house, stop bickering. It's just like dumb things like a toy, or the toy that we have two of that they need that one specific toy that we have two of.
Right.
I just
He's
it's
touching me.
touching me. It's all I don't know. It's about I don't know. I don't have the words to describe what it is, but some of it's attention seeking, sometimes I think, and wanting to be heard, and I think as adults, some of it's the same thing, You want people to understand the way you're feeling, or you want people to see you. So, you make a scene.
It's true.
Yeah.
My sister and I fought like,
Cats and dogs.
just mercilessly growing up. And my grandmother she just would not have it. So she was always trying to bring us at peace with one another, and we were always fighting.
So you have all this suppressed.
No.
Thoughts had to
So
get out.
she was pretty rough and tumble. So every once in a while, like we'd be wrestling over it, and or she'd be, yeah, it was generally good. We definitely got along way more than we fought, but we fought a lot. We just did. So
Something came to mind I heard on the radio the other day was they were talking about anger, and we're talking about how I think it was probably in the 90s and maybe the 80s and 90s, maybe it came out started in the 70s, where they were training kids to take out their anger by with a soft object banging on something, or the boxing gloves, the big oversized boxing gloves, or throwing balls at a wall that it wouldn't hurt, and to get their anger out, right? To get it all out so they wouldn't be angry and take it out on other people. Well, the study has since proved that only encouraged more anger.
Oh.
So that when they were adults now, they're hitting things because that's how they learn to deal with their anger.
Their anger, yeah.
Yeah. So when people say that, they just got to get it out. I'm just being honest. I'm just going to get
Yeah.
it out. It's not helpful in any regard whatsoever.
Right.
It just promotes more bad behavior, more anger issues when we give in to that temptation to express our anger.
Right. Yeah, it seems like if you're following the leading of the Holy Spirit, right, and growing in that there's something very different that's kind of growing in you, and it externally probably manifests in control over yourself, right? Like the reason why I'm not throwing the golf club is because even though I'm really angry, I'm still in control. I still have possession of my physical faculties, where other people I obviously don't, right? Because they lose it. So externally there's that thing, but then I think even internally there is that fruit of the Spirit that's in you, that
Right.
there's the benefit of grace that's helping the temper to subside,
Right.
right? Like be angry and sin not.
Right.
Just realize that anger is a true human emotion that we all deal with and we all battle, but it's not supposed to have control over us. Just like nothing is supposed to have control over us.
Right. So Romans 8:12, the scripture, and this was in so I grew up with NIV, and this is the NLT that I got this out of. I thought, I've never seen it said that way before. But it says, we are under no obligation to give in to the urges of the sinful nature. So I like the word obligation. We're not obliged to give in to the urge. In fact, we shouldn't. But, because
Right.
that's what we're doing. We're giving in to the urge to let that anger manifest itself, in our lives. And we're not under the obligation to do that. We shouldn't do that. But when I read that I think I read that this morning or yesterday. I just thought, oh, that just puts a whole different perspective on it for me. We're not under the obligation to do it just because we feel it.
Right.
Just get it out, get your anger out. It's like, no.
And that's counter to the other thing you were just talking about, right? The person that's saying, well,
Go
no, I
beat
mean, I
on
can't
this.
bottle it up. I have to let it out. I have to be me. I have to be
It's not
authentic.
healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which it's not healthy to let it out because then that just grows more in you.
Yeah.
So I like it. We were talking about the fruit of the Spirit, and I think people, me included, take that just so lightly that we have all of these things available in our lives. So fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. And so I've heard people say this. Did I get them all? I think
I think that was 9. Yeah.
I might have left it out. I don't know. But when people say, well, I just don't have any patience. And then you hear somebody else, don't pray for patience. But my perspective on this is that the moment that we confess that we believe in Jesus Christ, right? All of these seeds of the fruit of the Spirit are planted in us, but they have to be nurtured. They have to be nurtured and practiced, and otherwise they don't grow in our lives. They just remain as seeds. I mean, the ability is there, but unless we actively cultivate and nurture patience, we're not ever going to be patient. We're not ever going to have self-control if we're not practicing self-control. It's a practice that we have to be involved in every day. If the whole idea of joy, well, I don't feel very joyous. There's nothing joyous happening in my life right now. Is that, well, let's nourish that a little bit. Let's cultivate that. How do we find joy? How do we experience joy? That's, being at peace with what's going on around us. What does that look like? How can I be at peace when there feels like mayhem? What does it look like to practice peace? We don't let those things get to us. We don't, we recognize our triggers. We walk away. We sit quietly. We meditate. Whatever it takes to, and whatever it looks like for me, may look different for you on how you cultivate these fruit of the Spirit to grow in your life. And so I think people kind of don't understand how that whole thing works. The fruit of the Spirit growing in our lives. And that definitely holds true for self-control. If we're not practicing it, cultivating, and nourishing, then it's not going to be prevalent. It's going to be lacking in our lives.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything to add to that, Bri?
The only thing that came as you guys were talking is also just remembering what our purpose is in this life. God created us and put us here, right, for a purpose. And I think that purpose is to, walk as closely to how Jesus walked as we can, right, and to be loving towards our neighbors. And I think when we put our purposes, which might be earning money or accomplishing what we want to accomplish or getting our point across, at the forefront, then it leads us to break down, what I mean, and to be quick to anger and things of that nature. But if we remember that our purpose is to be the hands and feet of God, and to be something that people, to live differently than culture, and to strive to do that, then it manifests itself the way that it should. So
I like that. I like how you said that. If that's not our goal, those are tools, right?
Right.
Your job is a tool of walking in the light of who Christ is and
Correct.
who He is, so that He can work through you.
Yep.
And not just the acquiring of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right, let's spend a little time talking about our road trip to truth video. I can't remember. I've lost track of the video numbers, but the topic
10.
was it 10?
Yeah.
All right. The topic was on the gospel.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna put you on the spot here. Feel free to jump in with this. He did it in his interviews with the people kind of walking around on campus, but in your own words, what is the gospel? How do you What do you think of when you think of the gospel, other than, wow, that's some fancy Bible word that I would
Right.
never use when I'm talking to another person that doesn't know Jesus.
The greatest love story of all time.
Oh, Brian thought about this.
No,
He's like,
I watched the video
like-
like 7 times. Sorry, I'm being mean.
the greatest love story.
That's all you're gonna say after watching it 7 times?
Well, I was gonna let you talk first.
He
I
did
thought
say he wanted to read off your notes.
The gospel is.
I thought it was very interesting that a lot of I mean, they're young. Got to give them the fact that most of them are college students and still figuring out life, for what life is all about. But
And have probably
Oh,
never
it's
thought
all-
of the question of
no,
what
probably
is the
not, 'cause
gospel?
that is a hard question to
Sure.
answer. But just that it was all about, like, how does God help me in my life? It was very self-reflective. It's because, because God loves me, and because, so I can go to heaven, and, I just found that very interesting, and wondering, like, how many people operate from that point of view, that it's Christ did die for me, but not just me. There's a whole other part of the gospel there than just it being about me and my sin, and and all the benefits that come from salvation
Right.
too.
Yeah, I mean, it's God's plan for mankind.
Right.
Right. It's
Right.
it's the beautiful story of how God is redeeming
Right.
what has been broken and lost.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And yeah, that obviously has a lot of personal significance, but it's also human significance too. So
I think being a follower of Christ too, for many years. I mean,
Many years, right?
Many, more than you guys. Okay, yes, many years, decades. That we kind of take for granted that whole thing, just the whole, because we've lived it, we know it, and we take it for granted that. I mean, that's a big deal, that Christ died for us, that God sent His Son to die for our sins, so that we could not be under the obligation to sin, to give into our, sinful nature. So He freed us from all of those things. So it's not just about an end game. There's so much in between that I think we kind of lose track of sometimes.
Right. Yeah, it's not about the focus. Oftentimes felt like, certainly growing up, it was about being rescued from hell.
Yes.
Right. It was always
Yeah.
it was just always
Right.
being
The scare
rescued from
tactic.
hell. Yeah. I mean, I remember as a child, very, very young, I remember this going through my mind, that I would, at nighttime, I would pray. I would pray and ask, Jesus to come into my life, because I thought maybe I had done it the night before, but just in case I hadn't.
Maybe He hasn't heard you.
Right, but it's just, and I just remember that, like, actually thinking through
Right.
that methodology, that this is about being rescued from hell. And certainly, I mean, the good news of the gospel is that there is the offer for eternal life.
Like,
Right.
Right, that essentially God has offered a free gift of eternal life for everyone, but that eternal life doesn't begin when you take your last breath here on earth. It begins right now. You can take that, those words of encouragement that talk about how you're supposed to live in the present, like that goes with the gospel.
Yeah.
Like today.
and the hope that comes from Christ, right?
Yeah.
And yesterday I was doing a prayer walk with Tom Salmons and Pastor Mike from Springville Baptist, and he was talking. Mike was talking about a friend that he's been helping, and he was this question of like, where does your hope come from, came to the forefront. I had never thought about it like that way. And like, when you're ministering to somebody, like asking, like where does your hope come from, because I think we would all say that our hope comes from from Jesus, but I think if you stop 100 random people like on the side of the road, you'd get some very interesting answers to that question. So
Even if they have hope.
exactly, yeah. And we take for granted. I mean, I think like we have like this, eternal hope. You know what I mean? Because it's consistent, it's constant. We know the nature of God, and we understand that. And I'm quick. What got me to Christ was feeling hopeless. You know what I mean? And the right person in my life being there to say the right things, and God, Spirit like working through that moment. But yeah, I just think as it's just such an important aspect of the gospel. So
Yeah.
So feeling hopeless, yeah, that's horrible. I mean, we can talk about it and say it, but until you experience it, I mean, then the thought of there being a something better, that you don't have to experience hopelessness, you don't have to feel it
yep.
anymore. That whole idea of redemption, of God buying you back from that bad situation.
Yep.
Like that whole idea of redemption just.
I mean, at that moment in time, I was like so hopeless. I was like, yeah, I'll even go to church because I feel so
Right.
hopeless,
Oh, yeah.
because I had walked away, at a younger age. But I was like, nothing can be worse than the way I'm feeling right now. So
Yeah, might as well.
I might as well go to church.
That's right. Put spaghetti at the wall. See
Yeah.
if it sticks. Yeah. Well, there is this sort of one-for-one relation of feeling and sensing a need for Jesus and experiencing that.
Right.
Right. You read through the Gospels, and even Jesus here on earth, walking around and dealing with people in the crowds, or even one-on-one, there's a huge difference between the people that felt like they needed him and the people who didn't. Right. So most oftentimes is the very religious people that seem to be content with how their religiosity makes them right with God, right? So that was self-righteousness. That was the very definition of self-righteousness. It's, I'm all set. I have no need. I have no felt need for a savior. I have no sense of hopelessness, right? I mean, that's kind of, I feel like that's probably where a lot of them lived, versus the person that was just in utter despair with their lives, from the tax collector to the sinner to
Illness,
yeah, right, a person that was just completely lost physically, with no hope that things would ever get better. In fact, had done everything that he or she could in order to get better, and with no results. Right. It was that hopelessness and that sense of need that ultimately drove them to a place where they could actually receive what Jesus had for them. I was sharing with the staff yesterday, just kind of talking through the profile of an individual, and I shared with them a name of a person that I know very well, that it's a really interesting profile to me of a person that doesn't have Jesus in his life, but is perfectly happy and content with his life as it is. I mean, he's got everything he could want, right? I mean, the life is very successful, made a very, very good living for him. His kids have grown and become successful in and of themselves. He's a really happy guy, very friendly, the kind of person you want to hang out with, and is, hilarious. I mean, just I said to them, oftentimes we talk about how everybody has that God-sized hole that only Jesus can fill, right? It's like, he doesn't seem to have that. And I think the reality is a lot of people, they walk around without that. They've filled their lives with, and have been lucky enough, fortunate enough to maybe never have those things that would create that sense of hopelessness and despair that would lead them to Jesus. And that's a really hard person to reach. Was kind of my point.
Jesus had a hard time though. That's why he asked the rich man. Like, when the rich man asked, like, how do I, you give away everything and come follow me, and then he goes away sad. So,
Right. Yeah.
he had everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
That false sense of security. As the whole time that you're talking about this person, I'm just thinking, but I wonder who he is when he's alone. What goes through his head when he's by himself. Because if your value is from the people that you surround you with and your job and your things and what is it like from when you're by yourself and you're alone? There's got to be that, especially if he has a friend that has the Holy Spirit living in him. There's got to be some draw that happens there that he must be feeling, because
you'd like to think
so.
so. You'd like to think so. I mean, I'd like to think so.
Right.
But
And
I do wonder. I mean, I know theologically, yes, right? Like we all are built and wired for wanting a relationship with God. Like theologically, we know that, but
Right.
from a practical standpoint, it wouldn't surprise me if some people, given the right set of circumstances, like I would sort of, and I don't know everything about this person. I mean, I'm not like close
Right.
friends. I mean, maybe there are some really deep and hard and more catastrophic things that are in his life that I would just never know about. But there are some people that are fortunate enough to walk through life with pretty little hurt, relatively speaking, with a lot of positive, healthy relationships, and even those negative ones are more overshadowed by all the real positive stuff that's in their lives. And so it seems like a real possibility that people can be very fulfilled in their lives without God because of how they've fulfilled their lives without God. And I just, like I was saying, I think they're hard to reach
Right.
because there does seem to be this you have to come to this place where you feel like you need Jesus,
Right.
right? Like what's he going to save me from otherwise?
Right. Well, I think that when everything is going so well like that and then tragedy strikes, like there's nothing to grab a hold of because you haven't had to do that before.
Sure.
And I really think that that's why James said, consider it a joy when you encounter trials, knowing that it's a testing of your faith, and that faith produces perseverance and,
Yeah.
So that we know we have something to cling to.
Right.
In this last couple of years since I worked at Curtis Lake, so I feel like that God has just brought me face to face with a lot of things that I really had to face, that I didn't want to face, that I didn't want to name and deal with and process through. And I really had a good stretch of time where I did feel that hopeless feeling, of like, God, if you are, then how can I feel this way? Where are you? And it was very difficult, and it was just a very lonely, hard place to be, So how do I find my way back to God? How do I find my way back to where I know that you are, where you've met me before, many times? How do I get back there? What's happening to me? Basically, it's kind of like, how did I get where I am? Because my faith has never been so tried before. And so I really feel like it's just like we talked about earlier, just the practice of reading his word, the practice of just quiet and meditative thought. But it's a practice, and then that's where the whole idea of discipline comes in, because it's a discipline, because I want to get from here to there. I want to feel you in my life again, God. I want to be overjoyed by your presence. I want to experience that again. But I also feel like that if I hadn't have gotten to that point where I felt so hopeless, that God is calling.
God is calling.
Somebody is.
Ethan's calling.
There's a problem with Shana's kids.
getting cut off. What? Anyway, if I hadn't have felt that, I feel like I have such a greater appreciation for redemption right now than I ever had in my life. Just because I felt that just hopelessness of being without God, without his presence. And it wasn't good, it was not a place that I wanted to stay, So how we get back to our point is that understanding what the gospel really means, that good news is that I don't have to live there. Brian didn't have to live there, that there is, such a better place to be a relief.
Yeah.
A relief and just
And it's really interesting to see, like, you came from a very experienced Christian point, and I came from, like, really, I knew there was a God, but I didn't have any, like, practice in my life. I just got blessed by having a godly wife who knew the right things to say to me when I finally broke down and brought my troubles to her. So, and then she had the right words, like, I can't help you, but, God can. And that was enough for me to come, and hear the good news. But I had never, like, the gospel, those words or the good news or that hope could be found in anything other than something that I could produce myself, were foreign concepts to me, 11, 12 years ago. So
giving those words meaning, understanding the full impact of what redemption
really
the
means.
gospel.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the good news,
Mm-hmm.
right? That
Yeah.
not only can I experience that, but you can
Yeah.
too. And, anyone who walks through here on Sunday morning, or we meet in our jobs or on our street or, whatever. Because until we experience that, how can we share it with someone else? So,
All right. Awesome. Well, I think we're out of time. I don't know if that's what that noise meant, but I mean, it is 9 o'clock, so I guess we got to wrap it up. But this flew by.
it did.
It just kind of flew by. I didn't even get to any of my notes, so clearly you didn't either. But anyway, I guess we got to wrap it up. So thank you very much for coming out, and
You're welcome.
Brian, our
you.
resident expert on anger. Thank you so much for
Anytime.
being here tonight.
Yeah. I can give some lessons again in the future if you want.
How to be angry.
How to, yeah.
That's right. All right.
How to be angry and not sit in your anger.
It's impossible.
So thank you, Shayna, for organizing us and
Yes,
producing
thank you,
tonight.
Shayna.
So,
Thank you, Shayna.
all right. I guess we'll sign off and we'll see you all next week. Have a good week.
Have a great day.